Hi, welcome back, everybody. This is my continuing series on some history of math developments. One of the kind of connecting to science a little different than normal math thoughts is I want to talk about the history of measurements, um, and just kind of how they developed over time and how they relate to math and the importance of them. So we're just gonna hop straight into it. We're gonna talk about the earliest known measurement systems. The earliest known measurements are estimated to have been in the fourth and third millennia BCE across Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Indus Valley. Um, Babylonian and Egyptian records, as well as the Hebrew Bible, indicate that lengths were first measured using the forearm, hand, and finger. Time was measured by periods of the sun, moon, or other heavenly bodies. Um, Capacities of containers were compared by filling them with seeds and then counted for volume. Seeds and stones were the standard for weight, and the term carat for gems is derived from the carob seed. So in various civilizations, each had their own standard of length, kind of how if you watched my other video on the history of algebra, each culture had their own version of symbolism. Each culture here had their own units of length. The most common one were called cubits. There were various lengths, but typically the length of the elbow to the middle finger. You can kind of see here the cubit from the elbow to the middle finger. There were different various cubits. So there was the Egyptian royal cubit, the Mesopotamian cubit, the Roman cubit, the rabbinical cubit, and various others. They also had a measurement of 1/2 cubit, which was the length between the tip of the little finger to the thumb. 1/6 cubit was the length of a palm. 1/24 cubit was the width of a forearm. So you can kind of see the issues with this. People come in all different shapes and sizes. So if you wanted to measure a palm length, but someone has huge hands, would be different than someone with smaller hands. Eventually, things would start to become more standardized when the Roman Empire was at its height. However, the Roman units of length were influenced by Egyptians and other ancient civilizations. The Roman foot was approximately 296 millimeters, and it was divided into two separate subunits: 12 unici, which also are now inches, and 16 digits. So you can kind of see how the imperial system of inches and feet began with the Romans. Um, then there was the Roman millipassus, which was 1,000 paces or double steps, the pace being equal to 5 Roman feet. The Roman mile was 5,000 feet, so 1,000 paces, 5 feet, 5,000. As you can see, the imperial system, 5,000 feet. A mile now is 5,280 feet, so we can see how things have started to develop a little bit. The Roman mile was introduced to England during Roman occupation, and then it was changed under Queen Elizabeth I to 5,280 feet or 8 furlongs, where 1 furlong was 40 rods of 5.5 yards each. So just doing conversions based on this, you can see how things are getting kind of messy, which is a kind of a key point of this presentation. We're going to talk a little bit how things began to start to clean up. For mass, the grain, 64.79891 grams, was the earliest unit of mass. It was the average mass of wheat and barley. They were used as the first legal definitions. The grain was used in various systems, so the Troy, avoirdupois, and the apothecaries. They typically used to weigh various precious metals. So you can see the carat, for example, was the weight of a carob seed. So gems were relevant to the carob seed. Eventually, there was the mina, which is also a unit of currency, was equal to the weight of 60 shekels and was used since the Sumerians. Okay, moving on. So we're with the very disjointed system of measurements, ideas for a united system began to float around during the Age of Enlightenment, kind of leading into the metric system. The science and mathematical communities wanted to shift from variable measurements to using a nature-derived measurement of length and weight. So before this, everything was very disjointed and very variable, as I stated. So it wasn't until the French Revolution that major developments were starting to begin. The French were the first to develop a system of metrics, and it spread under the Napoleonic rule of Europe. So, as you can see here, most of this was in the 19th century: Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, and Switzerland. And it was the UK didn't legalize it till the end of the 19th century. So, what is the metric system? In 1790, a group of five French scientists, apologize for my dog. A group of five French scientists were appointed by the Academy of the Sciences to investigate weights and measures. The group consisted of Jean-Charles Desbordes, Joseph-Louis Lagrange, Pierre-Simon Laplace, Gaspard Monge, and Nicolas de Courcelles. And on the April 7th of 1795, the metric system was formally defined into French law. And then it defined 6 new decimal units. It defined the meter as 1/10,000,000th of the distance between the North Pole and the equator through Paris. The R was 1,000 square meters. The stare was 1 meter cubed, the volume of a solid. The liter was 1 decimeter cubed, the volume of a liquid. The gram, mass of 1 cubic centimeter of water. And then it also defined the franc, the currency of France. And in June 1799, platinum prototypes were fabricated according to the measured quantities. So in 1875, there was a conference that was created to replace the existing meter and kilometer prototypes held by the French government, and then as well as creating an organization to administer the maintenance of the standards. At this point, the reference prototypes were 70 years old and were not reliable standards. They were starting to decay a little bit and not be 100% true and perfect. So they redefined the meter. There was a new reference standard designed by Henry Tresca. It was designed with a little X cross section, as you can see right here in our image. It was a little bit longer than a meter, with the meter marked off on the prototype. It wasn't until 1960 that it was once again redefined in terms of the wavelength of the orange red line of Krypton 86. And finally, it was redefined again in 1983, which is our current meter standard. It was the length of the path traveled by light in a vacuum during a time interval of 1/299,792,458ths of a second. In addition, they redefined the kilometer prototype. You can see here's what the original one was like. It was the original kilogram prototype was made of platinum, but it was remade in 1899 in accordance with the 1875 conference. The new object was made of 90% platinum and 10% iridium, which was less likely to rust and erode away. It wasn't until 2019 that the kilogram was once again redefined as the physical objects were deemed unreliable. The kilogram is now defined in terms of Planck's constant, the meter, and seconds. Eventually, all of these led to the International System of Units. Is the most modern form of the metric system. It begins with 7 base units of time. So time is measured in seconds, length is a meter, weight is in the kilogram, electrical current is the ampere, thermodynamic temperature is Kelvin, amount of substance is a mole, and luminous intensity is the candela. And from these, there are 22 derived units that we're not going to worry too much about right now. We just want to focus on the 7 base units, which is what most students would use. All right, and that concludes my video on the history of measurement systems. Once again, I hope this encourages more research into these topics and to help spread this information to students. Hopefully answer a lot of questions for students that say why, and why do we learn these things, or what's so important about this. Hopefully this can enlighten some students with this. All right, and thank you.